when I was 15 years old, that was in 1944. 1944, my two older brothers were gone already. So it was myself, I was the oldest, and my three younger sisters, my mom and dad. But in April of 1944, they picked us up and they took us away from our home. They put us on horse-drawn wagons.
Start again, because I'm going to say who are they?
Well,
So start again when you were 15.
Well, yeah, that's when the Hungarian police came and took us away from our homes. They put us on horse-drawn wagons, and they were transporting us over to the next bigger city, which was called Bukacheva, which is a pretty big city, lots of Jews there. And there they had devised a temporary ghetto. It was a huge brick factory. And so imagine this is April, early April, the snowing, raining, and we were sitting in these open wagons for several kilometers all day long without anything warm in our stomachs, and just going along, young kids crying. We were cold, we were wet, and then this went on for a whole day. And finally, when we came to the destination, we were sitting on those wagons for hours because the gate that they have made into this place, there were wagons coming in from the entire region. So they were funneling them in through this one gate. So that took a long time. So finally, late at night, we got in and they took us to a building that might have been a warehouse or something, and there they had straw on the ground, and that's where we were to stay. At that point, the German SS took over. The Hungarians only brought us to that point, the Hungarian army, the Hungarian police, local police, but that's when the SS took over.
What happened?
Well, I'll tell you, the first night, of course, we were exhausted. So my mom took out her sheets. She brought bundles of stuff with her, bedding and food she prepared, because they knew that they were coming to get us, take us away. So she was prepared for all that. So the first night she put sheets and blankets, and we slept. Next morning we got up. My father went out someplace and they had some coffee and had our bread and whatever. So we had our breakfast and we just sat around, and nobody knew from anything. You were people from all over the area. Mostly in the building were people from our hometown because we got there together. And but the second morning, there was no agenda. There was nothing for us to do, or we were not informed as to what you need to do or what's going on. We knew absolutely nothing, ever. And so I kind of wandered off a little bit into the front of this place, which was a huge yard, and people were milling around. You know, people were trying to get information. Does anybody know? What are they going to do with us? You know, everybody was frightened to death. And so as I was standing there, sort of chatting with other guys, with other kids, I see this guy motioning to me, like this here. And he was sort of a big, tall fella. He wore riding boots, riding pants, and he was an SS officer. He had this little cap cocked to the side. He had dark hair, unlike Germans that we perceived to be all blondes, you know. But as soon as I got over to him, well, of course, he pranced around with a stick under his arm. They all had sticks under their arm. And he started whipping me all over my face, my neck, my body. Then he told me, lay down. He says, runter, du verfluchte Jude, du Schweinehund, in German meaning, you cursed you, Jew, you dog, you pig, you animal, and so forth. So I laid down, and then he kicked my arms out from under me, and he had 2 bricks there. So he told me to get a hold of those 2 bricks. And he says, get going. Well, the grounds were wet, soggy, full of mud puddles everywhere. And he directed me to where the puddles were the deepest. And he kept whipping me as I was going on. My belly wasn't low enough on the ground, dragging. So he kept kicking me with his boots. And this went on for, I was told, 45 minutes, which to me seemed like forever. And I was a very small kid, skinny, sort of not too much of anything at that age, 15 years old. And finally he said, wer verschwundet, you verfluchte, Eddie again with his, get lost, I'm sick of looking at you, you filthy animal, and so forth and so on, And so I was barely able to get up. But at that time, I looked like hell. I looked muddy and bloody. I was in very bad shape. But I had to go back to my mother's place, and that I was frightened to do that, because I knew that if she'd see me in this condition, that she would have a tough time. Sure enough, I finally crawled back, and she started screaming, crying, carrying on. What happened? But, to kind of move on, she kind of found a bucket someplace and water and rags and wiped me off and cleaned me up. And I, for the duration we were there, for the next 3 weeks, I just didn't move from that spot. I was afraid to go out at all. But the same guy and his colleagues went all over the place and doing all kinds of horrible things to people. Many of the people there at that time were, as I said, Orthodox, and many of them wore long beards. And this guy grabbed hold of the beard and with a knife started cutting. And so he pulled the hair out of the chins, and they were bleeding, and just a total mess made out of people's lives. And so this stuff went on for about 3.5 weeks, something like that.